there is an application, an app in China called WeChat. WeChat. It belongs to another conglomerate, Tencent. WeChat it's worthwhile taking a look at it, because it is quite phenomenal. It does everything that Netflix, Spotify, Google, Amazon, all the apps that we know and love in the West, WeChat does everything. You can watch movies, listen to music, send messages, Twitter, the whole thing, right? And it does something that no UK, EU, or essentially Silicon Valley app can do. It gives you the capacity to make payments to anyone using the Chinese currency, the yuan, for free. No fees, no delay, nothing. You have a WeChat app, you can pay anyone around the world in yuan at zero cost. That application does not exist in the Western world, in the West, because Wall Street will not allow it. Wall Street will never allow Apple or Google or any of the big tech companies or Amazon to rein in Wall Street's capacity to extract financial rents from you every time you make a payment. So Visa, MasterCard, Bank of America, Lloyds Bank and so on will always ensure that there is no WeChat in the West. And now why is this significant? I was talking while I was writing this book, years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, even before I started writing this book. I was talking to a German industrialist. He had a mid-sized German company, which meant 3,000 workers, but that's mid-sized in Germany back then, making propellers for Chinese shipyards in Shanghai, outside Shanghai. Those huge propellers were made using copper and aluminium produced in Shenzhen, in China. So the metal, aluminium, copper went from China to Germany, turned into a propeller, and then going back to China to be installed in these massive container ships and so on. Right? Now, the normal payment process was, every time he wanted to buy the metal from China, he would have to tell his bank, Deutsche Bank, in Hamburg, wherever it was, to send the money to the Bundesbank. The Bundesbank is the equivalent of the Bank of England, the Central Bank of Germany. Then the money was going next door, again in Frankfurt, from the Central Bank of Germany to the European Central Bank. Then it would go through Washington, through the Fed system, because every payment you make internationally has to be approved by the Americans. You have no capacity as Britons to make payments internationally that is not approved of by the United States of America. Know that. This is not something that is widely advertised. And from there it would go to the Chinese Central Bank, and from the Chinese Central Bank would go to the private bank of the aluminium or copper producer in Shenzhen. That was every time the money changed hands, a little bit, a small rent was charged by intermediaries, right? And it takes 2 or 3 days for this payment to be completed, even as we speak, right? And then when the propeller would be sold, then the money would have to follow this tortuous path in the opposite direction back to the German propeller producer. Okay? And at some point he told me about WeChat. That's how I found out about WeChat. He said, but now I use WeChat. Because all I have to do is press a button. And the money goes to from my bank account, which I have with the Chinese bank. Press a button and it goes to my supplier, and then from my customer it comes back to me. And it's all, of course, in one.